Hey Dad, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you coming back and watch this video. Today I'm going to do a little bit of stuff on the Camaro. I'm going to try and pull the drive shaft. I know I promised that the last time, but I didn't get it done. Had a few other things that I got to. I am going to probably try and take the fuel tank out just to get that part ready, get it freed up back there so that I can start looking at that trunk pan a little bit closer. I'm going to check this engine out. Before I pull it out, I want to see if it's locked up, if it turns over at all, if it doesn't, if it's a boat anchor or whatever it is. So I'm going to probably take the fan shroud off and look at some stuff and try and determine what I want to do with that. And then I may get started pulling some bolts out of the transmission. It is a 2-speed power glide. Which I won't be using that, so I may just try and get rid of it if it's worth anything. I know it leaks. It probably has some fluid in it, but it's not full. So, but I want to, get the bolts out of it and get the bolts out of the torque converter and just start trying to do some stuff with that. So that's my plan for today. We'll see if I can get all of it done. But I'm really interested to see what this engine does, see if it's actually even freed up anymore. I know sometimes they'll sit out in the field and they'll lock up, or sometimes there are other shows on here that guy goes out and after 20 or 30 years he gets them running, and drives them home. So this one will not run. I'm not even going to try. The rats ate too many of the wires and I'll burn the thing down. So but I will try and clean up the engine a little bit, try and get the remnants of the mice and the rats out of it, and just see what I can get done from there. So thanks for watching. Thanks for coming back, and I hope you enjoy. Upon further inspection, I figured out that this is a direct drive water pump. So I can just grab the fan and turn the fan to see if this engine is going to turn. Now what we'll be looking for is that pulley right here, making sure that turns a little bit. I'm hoping the belt's tight enough to make it turn. We'll just have to see. Now this right here, this is the power steering, but with the Trans Am, it has a power steering pump on it, and I may even try and use the rack and pinion out of the Trans Am on this car as well. I'll have to see how much fabrication there is on using something like that, but I think I can do it pretty easily, and then that way I can have the power steering, the upgraded, newer power steering out of the Trans Am on this car. So that should help. So, all right, so here we go. I'm gonna come over here. Let me get down in here. I don't know if you will be able to see it or not. I'm gonna try and make it to where you can watch this. Hey, it is moving. It's moving. I don't feel anything crunchy. A little bit of mouse poop going through there. I see that on there, but it looks and feels, it feels free. It doesn't feel like there's any rust or anything in there. It's moving pretty easy. So I guess it'll be worth keeping. Maybe I'll have another project one day and use this engine in it. Stroke it out to a 383. That'd be pretty neat. But yeah. Okay, well that's good news. I guess Derek could probably get this one running, but I'm not gonna try. It's a moot point right now. So, but I am glad that it is free and moving. So I'm excited about that. So I'll get this thing out and put it on an engine stand and maybe I'll make a show of rebuilding it one day. I put the top up just because I hadn't seen it in a while with the top up. Even though there is no fabric on that top, I just love the way that thing looks. I think that looks so awesome. But I wanted to see the header bow just to see how bad off it is. I think I can clean it up and save it. It's not terrible. It's got some scale on it, but you know, it's not thin or anything like that. So I think I can save this. If not, I can buy another one. I know they make them, but I just gonna try and save as much and use as much off of it as I can. So just thought I'd let you see that. All right, so here's kind of a walk around of underneath. Got the fuel tank right here, and this is the bottom of the tail panel. At least they brought their Bondo all the way down and around. That's always good. And I always love the rivets, pop rivets, and then just Bondo over them. Not my idea of a restoration at all, but they called it a partial, so I guess that's one way of doing it. Then we have the shock tower that is not there anymore, so that's gonna have to be replaced. This one over here is gonna have to be replaced. It's just not as worn out and nasty and gone, but that's fine. I can get those parts and they're no big deal. So I am going to, once I get the drive shaft out and get the exhaust and all that stuff taken out, I'm going to leave the rear axle under it for a while, and then I'm going to try and take it outside and pressure wash it. Try and get some of this Arkansas mud out from under it so that it's not constantly falling in my eyes and making a mess in the shop. So, but I will cut all these brackets and stuff, get those out, and the exhaust. It looks like they've got, he had glass packs on it instead of mufflers, which my first one, it was that way too. It had glass packs, but the exhaust ended right behind the front door. So it was kind of loud. Everybody could hear me coming and going. So it's you know, pretty bad. Here's the here's that transmission cross member that they peeled up, and it went through the floorboard. Makes the transmission bolts pretty easily accessible. So that's the transmission pan and the torque converter, which there's no scatter shield on that, so that's a good thing too, so I don't have to worry about that. And it wouldn't run anyway because there's no starter. Guess they needed that for one of the other vehicles out in the field. But at least the engine does turn. Looks like they hit something pretty good there. Probably the same thing that peeled the transmission cross member. Got the exhaust here. Lucky for them, it didn't poke a hole in the oil pan, but it looks like it might have pulled it loose or popped the seal on it. But it's hard to tell with all the grease and grime and everything else on it. So, but anyway, that's kind of a quick walkthrough of what we've got underneath. Yeah, I couldn't drive this home, that's for sure. These tires are gone. So, but anyway, it's a quick walkthrough, and we'll get started with taking apart the drive shaft, getting it out of here, and seeing what else we can get done. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is try and take this brace off. This is a convertible brace. The coupes did not have this, so I'm going to try and get this brace out of the way, and then I'll go ahead and break the bolts loose on the U-joint here, and this drive shaft should just pull right out of the transmission. This is the yoke that goes into the back of the transmission. Now I'm going to try and put a pan or something underneath this, because sometimes when you pull that out, transmission fluid will leak out of the back of it. So let me get this somewhere and I'll start breaking apart this U-joint. Okay, so the drive shaft's out of the way. That's a good thing. Now we can get to cutting the exhaust out from under it. None of this will be reused either. So, but then I can get started on the fuel tank, getting it removed. But pulling that drive shaft out reminded me of a time, my first Camaro, the one that's in the intro. It had a problem with the Muncie M20 that was in it, that the reverse fork was worn a little bit, so it would slip off of the reverse gear, and it would not come out of reverse. So whenever you put it in first gear, it would kill it. But in even trying to put it in neutral or anything, it would still be in reverse. So the first time it happened, I had to drop the transmission out of it, and my dad, he came over and he was telling me what all to do. Chalk the tires, pull the drive shaft out, take the shift linkage off the transmission, and take the 4 bolts that held the Muncie M20 to the bell housing, take those off, and then you could just pull the transmission out. So I said, okay, well, let's get started. And he said, go ahead. And I said, I thought you were gonna help. He said, I just did. He said, when you get all that done, he said, I'll help you pull the transmission out because it's a little bit heavy. He said, but if you want an old car, you better learn to work on them. So that was my first dip into the pool of having an old car and really getting to work on it, other than just a tune-up or whatever. So this right here just kind of brought back that memory. So I'm going to start taking the fuel tank out. Not much metal holding it up in the front, so it shouldn't be too bad. But I've already gotten the filler neck pulled out of the trunk, so the tank, once I get all these bolts undone, it should just come right out. Don't think there's any fuel left in it, so shouldn't be too heavy. So I'll go ahead and get started. Safety glasses, because this is really nasty. Alright, there's what's left of that. Not much left of that at all. Bolt's so rusted that it won't even unscrew. It just broke the rest of the trunk that was holding it. So. better get something to hold this up because the nut is not coming off of the bolt. It looks like it's getting ready to rip it through. So I'll get something to hold this up real quick while I'm trying to take that apart, and when it rips off, it won't fall to the floor. All right, just a simple ratchet strap. That ought to hold it up there till I can get the bolt undone. I got my gloves on because I'm afraid I'm gonna get into some of these sharp edges whenever it starts coming loose or that bolt breaks. On second thought, that bolt is very long. The nut is very rusty. I don't feel like fighting with it. So I'm gonna try and just cut the strap because the strap is no good anyway. There's half of it. And there's the other half. Okay. So that pulled out. This was the ground. It pulled out just as soon as I pulled this wiring harness for the tail lights and everything out. So it is out. I don't know what the inside of it looks like yet, but I didn't hear any rust rumbling around in there. And what I want to try and do is use the fuel pump and the fuel sending unit from this Trans Am, try and either modify this tank or a brand new tank and put that fuel pump in there. I don't know if it's gonna work, but that's what I'd like for it. Okay, so this is what the bottom of the car looks like with no fuel tank in it. Now, these frame pieces here, those are a little worse off than I thought they were and hoped they were. But I'll see what I can do. I may end up having to replace part of them. The bottom, the back horn part of it looks like there's some metal on there that I can replace. Might be just this place where the shackle, this little brace here, that may be okay up in there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that may be okay. But I think this spring brace is pretty shot. But I'll get in there and see what I can replace or what I need to. Well, I think that's gonna do it today for the video. I got the fuel tank taken out. I got the drive shaft taken out. I checked the engine, it's good, turns, not rusted up on the inside, not seized up or anything like that. So maybe that's for something later on. But the next time I think I'll get started trying to get the transmission to where I can pull it out and then start working on the engine to get it pulled out of there. I appreciate you watching. If you're enjoying it, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. That helps. Not sure what it helps, but it does. So, but I do appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.